one of the team members hollered out, it's like, oh my God, look at this. So everybody come running, and just as clear and as pretty as could be, was a 21-inch track.
Today's guest comes to us live from the great state of Georgia, Mr. Tony Green. Mr. Green began researching Bigfoot and cryptids in North Georgia in 1989. He's since had a sighting of his own and has been on dozens of cryptid and Bigfoot research expeditions. You are, of course, watching the Caffeinated Cryptid podcast. I am your host, Bobby Dizzle. I invite everyone to subscribe, and all ways to watch and listen is, of course, in the description. I want to do things a little bit different this week. I want to dedicate this show to the memory of Mr. Bob Grumpy Wilson, a legend in the cryptid and Bigfoot world. Passed away last week. Many of the people I've come to know by doing this podcast were very close to him, loved him deeply, really respected him, and just spoke nothing but kind words to him. I only met him for a couple of days on a Bigfoot expedition camp-out research gathering a few months ago. But the time I spent with him was awesome. You could tell there was a larger-than-life presence around him talking to him, that he was very intelligent, very intelligent and knew what he was talking about. Like, there was real experience in his words. And you could tell you were talking to somebody that had been through there and paid his dues and really earned the respect everyone was giving him. Just trying not to ramble here, but I just want to pay my respects to a man who I feel has earned the respect from others. And just want to say rest in peace, Mr. Wilson. You were loved and respected, and you'll be missed by many. Tony, conversation is officially started. Here we go. That's a third wall breaking at its best. So let's get your quick intro out of the way. You started researching in 1989 with the Georgia Bigfoot research, and right. You had an experience prior to that or afterwards? It was
during that time I was researching with the group.
Okay.
There were actually two experiences at that time when researching with the group, as far as, actively seeing one, a personal encounter, so to speak, with a visual. We've had, during that time, we had, them coming around camp, circling the camp, throwing logs in camp, throwing rocks and stuff, things like that. And, there'd be times where you literally couldn't go to sleep at night. And then there'd be times where nothing would happen at all.
What was the region that happened? Was that like North Blue Ridge area? The region that you're experienced? The region?
Oh, the region?
Yeah.
That's North Georgia, up above Rome, in between Rome and Somerville.
Okay, yeah, I know exactly where that is.
That place called Jenkins Gap. That's what it was called. That
little area, I came through there going to, what's it called? Medieval times,
Uh-huh.
About last year. And, I'm from North Alabama, I'm from the county that Alabama and Tennessee and Georgia all meet.
Okay.
And my uncle lived in Rome. So I've been over there, and I came through there I left at 4:00 in the morning from Huntsville, and just going across the mountain there at Fort Payne. Man, it's like another country for like 100 miles.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And I think the last time I went up there, as far as on the research level, was maybe 2011, 2012. And, how we did it was we didn't have the night vision. We didn't have a lot of this technology until later on into our research. A lot of it was just flashlights. That's all we had, flashlights and pistols for protection. And
bare minimum.
That's it. That was it. And what we discovered, over time was 8 different creatures living up there.
Mm-hmm.
You had, if I'm not mistaken, we uncovered four or five different size tracks. Now, how we come up with the number 8 was some of those tracks were like, if it was 13 inches, the other one was like maybe 13 and a half. Very small differences with them. And so we deduced from that there's probably at least 8 creatures up here. You had your dominant male, and you had your female, but there seemed to be a larger, older male creature that was there also. That like it seemed like he hung around in the back in the shadows. Where we got that from was, and this is going to sound crazy, but it was the only time that we've ever seen it, and we did not have enough plaster of Paris to pour it. But there was a 21-inch track that we found.
Wow.
That was pretty much like close to current camp, just outside the light radius of the camp we had set up. And it was right next to a tree that we used to go to the bathroom. And where we found it, we were packing up and leaving. Who's thinking about looking for a track next to your car?
Yeah.
And we were packing up leaving, and one of the team members hollered out, "It's like, oh my God, look at this!" So everybody come running because we thought something was wrong. And just as clear and as pretty as could be, was a 21-inch track. Now I wear a size 15.
I was going to say, and what does Shaq wear?
Shaq wears a 22.
I mean,
that's huge. That's huge. And it was just literally unbelievable. So we're hauling for the plaster of Paris, and we had used all that we had pouring it was a 14-inch track we were pouring. And that was the last that we had of it. So we never got a chance to pour that. And at the time, we did not have, I don't think at that time, you didn't have cell phones like you got now. So it ain't like you could just snap a picture of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was right before the advent of the 8-megapixel camera phone. You had that stupid little one.
Yep. Square. Yep.
Did you do like what's the word? Diffusiary object next to it with like a stick in it and like a width?
I put my foot in it. That was about it. Because it was known that I wore at that time. I wore a size 14 and a half or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I was able, because I had the biggest foot there. So I put my foot in it, and you still had like 1 or 2, 3 inches on either side of me. Yeah. It was insane.
Can you imagine the animal that had that, or the thing?
No,
the person?
No, because it literally terrified us. Because, like I said, we were going back. That's where the men of the group would go back there and take a leak, because it was behind the car, just outside the light radius, and away from camp. So that's where we would go to take a leak. So there's no telling, because we couldn't tell if it wasn't there when we parked there. But we don't know, like, for example, if this thing was standing there when we were taking a leak, or what? Because if we'd have been back there, if it had moved, we'd have seen it. But this thing being as big as it was in the dark, we would have thought no more it's a tree, because, we didn't have night vision or nothing. And we're just going back to using the bathroom. We're not expecting anything,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you go, like, I've been in this situation before many times, the campfire to the quote unquote restroom.
Right.
Usually it's not enough time for your pupils to adjust either.
Right.
You're basically blind the whole time you're back there. You're just like, okay, 10 seconds and you're gone. So he could have been there just doing this.
Just sitting there.
Man, that is just terrifying. I know the feeling. And what I'm thinking is it's 15 feet tall is like the plus or minus what it might be.
Yeah.
And so you look this eye level, you're not.
You're seeing nothing but girth. It looks
Yeah.
it would look like just a large tree. You're not think because you're from the camp to where that was. It's not like on pick up the hair unless it moves or something. But if it's just standing still, you're going to the bathroom. You're not thinking that this something's that close to you. That would be something else.
You walk back there like, damn, did you take a shit back there or something? Smells like a skunk. Like a skunk spray back there or something. And that's pretty. And it was just one track.
Just one track. And that's another thing that, I think a lot of theories develop because of, you find one track and you don't find any others, or you'll find a trail, then it just vanishes. For me, I don't. To me, it's just I just keep it a mystery. I'll say I don't know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like. I'm not too much a fan of speculating, to the point where it gets off into other areas.
It turns into a smoke circle.
Yeah. So I kind of like, I don't know. It happens. But from what I've seen of these creatures, I don't see any other thing other than a bipedal primate.
Mm-hmm.
Slightly, I would say more intelligent than an ape, not quite as intelligent as a human, for the simple fact it doesn't make any tools. It's not going to start a fire. It's not going to build anything other than a bed that animals normally would build. Eagles build nests, deer bed down. And so these things appear to me, what they'll do is they'll build a nest for them to sleep in. They hunt shelter like caves, or they'll build like what we would call a lean-to to kind of stay out of the weather or the elements, and they keep moving. I believe they're creatures that are on the move. And that's why you may see them at one time a year, but you won't see them all year to that time, the same time next year.
Mm-hmm.
But
somebody compared them. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I was trying to think.
Go ahead. You're good.
Well, somebody compared them to a. They did like a dog hunt kind of thing, as far as natural resources go, where you just go in a line around,
right,
and kind of like a locust, loosely like locusts would do, just take over what they can and just move around nomadically in the area.
Right. And if they find, I do believe this, if they find an area that will sustain them for a long period of time, they will remain in that area for a long period of time until they have to move out again. I do believe that. The first, most people, for me, during since I've been researching, most people get started with they'll have a sighting, and then that will spur their research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For me, it was how I got into it was I worked at a convenience store and I worked third shift, and I would have, some of my buddies would come in and hang out with me at night, and we would talk about ghost stories, Bigfoot. I've always believed in Bigfoot. I never had an issue believing in Sasquatch. My favorite two movies is The Legend of Boggy Creek and The Creature from Black Lake. Mm-hmm. Of the two, The Creature from Black Lake, I believe, is my favorite of the two. And I know a lot of people will disagree with me on that, but I love the way The Creature from Black Lake was done. So I've always had a belief in Bigfoot. I've never seen him as alien or supernatural, anything like that. I just figured there's a bipedal ape out here that ain't been caught. There's all kinds of stuff. So that was my thing. And, we would sit up and talk about this all the time, at night and everything. And one of my buddies said, he goes, I know a guy that does research on him. I was like, really? He's like, is it okay for him to come up here? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Bring him up here. So, and the team at the time was called Georgia Bigfoot Research and Investigation. And he brought him up there, and we got to talking and everything. And he goes, his name was Jan Allen. This team was under Jan and Lamar Allen. And he said, would you like to go with us? I was like, nope. It's like, I don't have to prove anything.
You said nope.
I said, nope. And there were two other guys that were all gung ho about going. They were, yeah, we'll go and everything. Because they had at this time, this was around April or May, and they had planned a trip in October. And the other two dudes were saying they were going to go. Well, over time, I've been coming around. They have been coming around. They've been showing me different stuff, like footprints, and pictures, and the Patterson footage, and different analysis of the Patterson footage, and it was intriguing me. And I decided that I was going to go if the other two dudes went, but they never went. And I've been doing it ever since. They never went.
What are they doing now?
I don't know what they're doing. They're not doing. They ain't doing anything with it. They ain't doing anything.
They just let you go out there by yourself.
Yeah, it was just because I'm with this group, and they were supposed to. They were all gung ho about it, but they never. They didn't go not one time, not one single time. and I went, and I almost got ate up by a mountain lion. A tiger, a big cat come charging at me. Mm-hmm. They had to shoo it away. That started me into, I'm going up here with a gun because I don't want to get eaten by anything.
Yeah.
But I think it was my third trip up there where I saw my first footprint. And when I saw my first footprint, I had the reaction like if I had seen the creature face to face.
Yes.
It was like, it went from the page to reality in front of me. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I didn't have trouble believing it, but that belief became a reality when I seen that footprint. And I sat there, and I stared at it probably for a good 15, 20 minutes, just staring at it. Mm-hmm. Like I'm taking it all in. My mind is like, I'm actually seeing this.
Was it like a good one, like in dirt?
Yeah, how I put it. You know how you got a trail going, just like going through the woods. You got a padded down trail, almost like a game trail, but it was just like just a beautiful. You got the toes. It was probably maybe 2 inches in the ground. It was a 13-inch track. Mm-hmm. A lot of it's like the most tracks that I've seen up there were mainly 13-inch. What I mean by the most is that was the most common that we saw. We would see randomly a 15, like I said, a 14, that 21, but mainly it was always 13 and a half.
It's like the same size, maybe the same one back and forth too.
Yeah. Because all right, so and to back up to go forward, their first like they had been up there maybe 3 or 4 times before I actually went. They got a call from the Georgia Forestry Commission at the time because one of the people that lived up there had a sighting, and it rattled him enough to where he called the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department then called the Georgia Forestry Commission, and then the Georgia Forestry Commission called the Bigfoot research team. And there was what the guy described was a crippled creature. It seemed like it was like paralyzed on one side or something because it walked and it drug its foot behind it. Mm-hmm. And what he was doing was he was up there picking ginseng. It was him and his friend was supposed to go up there to pick ginseng. And these are older mountain men type.
Yeah. Especially they're picking ginseng. It's only one type of person.
They're picking ginseng, and as he was going up there he was going to go, but his friend had got sick. So he said, I'm going to hang back and I'll be up there in a little while. So the other guy went up there by himself, and he's, picking his ginseng. And he said after about an hour or two goes by, he saw some movement out to the corner of his eye. So he assumed that was his friend coming up there. So he hollers to him, "Hey, I'm over here." And he said, now, from the time he saw that movement, I guess 30 or 40 minutes had went by, and he's like, he should already been here by now. And after he had that thought, he said the hairs on the back of his neck stood up. And when he looked, this creature was standing there looking at him. And he said his knees locked. And the creature stood there for a minute, grunted at him, turned, and limped off, like it was paralyzed or injured or something. And that's how the team got up there. And the guy, of course, he called the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department called the Forestry Commission, and the Forestry Commission called our team. And a relationship was built to where, and this was early. Now it changed after about 10 years of going up there. But when we started going up there, they would shut that mountain down when we were up there. They would shut it down to hunters, to anybody going up there, because you had to have a key to get through the gates. And we would have to call the Georgia Forestry Commission and the Sheriff's Department to let them know we're coming up there to research. And they would shut the mountain down. They would give us the key, so we had to go pick up the key to get up to the mountain. And we would have that whole mountain to ourselves for the weekend to research. And it's changed since then, though. But
I've been looking for forest rangers and people like that to come on, and I haven't decided my strategy yet, because I know they know some things, but I know they can't exactly flat out say it. I had Robert Leiterman on. You may have heard of him, the Bluff Creek guy, Bluff Creek Project.
Yeah,
he's the one that found the original Patty site, and he was a forest ranger, but he didn't have any.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a forest ranger out there in Bluff Creek, but he said that anytime they'd have something happen, they would call him, but it wouldn't be like. I asked him, was there a secret code? Like, did they say "Hey, Robert, we got a flying squirrel or something on the loose up here"? But like what you just said, I'd love to hear those stories, like the behind the scenes that the forest rangers had to hear.
The one thing is that helped us a lot. Really was building the relationship with them. Being being professional, building that relationship, getting that repertoire, because it took years. It took a couple of years to build that to where they bypassed the sheriff's department and would just call us. And it took years to build that relationship.
Was there anything like a disclosure agreement you had to sign, or there was an understood you don't mention this?
No. Now there may be now, but at that time you're talking. This was like early to mid 90s.
Yeah.
There was nothing like that. There was nothing. Now with our team, what we would do, we'd have like a normal application, with your information that we would keep and put that in a particular safe, but like a non-disclosure agreement, we wouldn't give up the location, and pretty much like the same today. But now, I feel comfortable giving up the location, because now the whole area is like hikers and horses and stuff, and people are up there all the time. It's a popular hiking area.
Yeah,
which tells me that I don't think those creatures are still there anymore. That they have possibly moved on, or people aren't saying anything.
I was meaning like with the forestry department, like the park rangers, like did they have something like, we'll call you guys when this happens, but don't mention it That it was
No,
here.
there was none of that. There was none of that. And there's other, all right, so there's that ridge, and then there's also I think it's called Dirt Cellar Mountain, where there was rumors of don't get caught after dark on Dirt Cellar. So you had rumors like that going on.
Yeah.
But we never was able to get over on to Dirt Cellar Mountain. Because we believed that they were coming from that area to Taylor's Ridge. But we wasn't able to get on that particular mountain.
And that'd be, it's one of those things that if it has a rumor like that, something had to have happened.
Oh yeah. Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
What's that place everybody always talks about? Monster Central in Louisiana or whatever. I'm like,
yeah.
It didn't come from
that's a given. There's something there. There's something there.
Yeah,
that's a given.
It's incredibly curious. I mean, it makes you wonder, like what you were saying about how they may not be there anymore, and with the caves, I think that's one of the biggest clues to the whole mystery is the cave system.
Yeah,
how there's nothing in the middle, nothing's in Nebraska, but you got your Rockies and where we're at. Basically, I mean, you are pretty much in the same spot,
right?
So, as the crow flies, but there's nothing in the center. So that's a huge clue for me.
Yeah, and you don't really get any kind of sightings coming. If you do, they're very rare and few and far between coming out of the middle of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They all hide. They're gonna hide in the grass.
Right. Right. Now, and my first sighting happened probably 6 years in. Because at that time, what we would do is one of our strategies was, like I said, we didn't have night vision. All we had was pretty much our flashlights. So one of the things we would do is during the day, we would go out in teams of two, spread out through the mountain and just go out, looking for signs that they were there, footprints, tree structures, hair if possible. But we would talk and make noise. Casual conversation and stuff. And then around 5 or 6 o'clock, we would start heading back to camp. And we would wait for them, because what these creatures would do there is they would come to you. You didn't have to go to them. Mm-hmm. A lot of times at night, they would come to the camp and literally circle the camp, and you hear them. As they're circling, you hear them getting closer and closer and closer. And at one instance, we was like, let's see if they come into the light. So we ignored them for the most part. Like I said, they did this this was a normal routine for them to come in, circle the camp, and they'll get closer, but they would never come into the light. So this particular time, we was like, because when they were circled, you'd people looking, and then we would kind of get up and go out to where we've heard them at to try to see if we can capture one or get some eye shine or something. And so we would go out to where they were. So this particular time, we decided to not do nothing and just sit in camp and listen to them and talk. And we had done that, and we're talking, and then it just gets deathly quiet. And then a rock comes in and hits the fire. I was like, what are they doing? So it's like, so we was like, okay, so hold on. They're throwing rocks. So hold on.
Yep.
Let's not do nothing. Let's just keep talking, see what they do.
Achieve communication.
Yeah, because they're trying. Because it's almost like they wanted to play, or they wanted us to engage with them. Because the more we ignored, the more intense the rock throwing got. And at one point, there was a tree. They threw like a tree branch or something into the fire. It was always into the fire, because if it was on the gravel, you're not going to necessarily jump like you would if it's in the fire, So, and they would do this until we got up and we get out and go looking for them in the dark with these flashlights, and you would catch a shadow going behind a tree. You would hear a grunt here. You'd hear them running through the brush. and it was almost like they wanted us to chase them. And it was crazy because it's like these creatures knew who we were, they knew our routine, and they would respond to us according to what our routine was. You know, on my first sighting, it wasn't like a full facial, but we were down in this ravine, and it was me and 2 other team members. And I just happened to see one just take off. This is like 3 in the afternoon. This isn't broad daylight. I seen it like take off. So when I saw it take off, I took off after it. And I'm in a full sprint. And I couldn't tell you what happened to my other team members, but I was in a full sprint. And I couldn't tell you how far I chased it. I'll say probably maybe 200 yards, something like that. And I couldn't see it no more. So I stopped, and you could hear a pin drop in the woods.
I bet.
It was just silence. The wind wasn't blowing, the birds wasn't chirping, crickets, nothing. The leaves wasn't even moving. I'm standing here. I got a single shot shotgun in my hand, and it's got bird shot in it.
So you ain't got nothing.
Teammates, I didn't have nothing. Teammates, I don't know where they are. They're gone. So I stopped, and I'm like, and I said this out loud. Okay, I was like, listen, I'm not finna run back to camp. So I'm not going to chase you anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn around, and I'm going to walk back to camp. If you choose to follow me, that is fine, but I am not running. And I turned around and I walked slowly back to camp because one, I was dead tired.
Yeah, you just did the 800 meters.
Yeah, and
to a pine thicket.
You can hear them kind of paralleling me. You'd hear them from time to time until I probably got about 50 feet outside of camp. And then they stopped. And I walked back to camp.
This was still in the daylight. This is like 3 o'clock.
This was broad daylight. Broad daylight. This is broad daylight. The second time was probably maybe a year or 2 later. And this time we wasn't actually. All right, so up there, great places to camp. If you just want to go up and just camp, good places to camp. So I took my took my ex-wife and my son, my mother-in-law and father-in-law, we went up there. Like my father-in-law was actually head of the team. So we went up into this area that we call the swamp. And why we call it the swamp is basically it was at the bottom of this particular ridge, and it had a creek that ran along it. And we camped on the side of the creek right there. And there's houses kind of around a little bit, but it's a good place to camp, good safe place to camp. So we were up there camping, and me and my father-in-law, we were talking, and we were just loud and laughing and just cutting up and having a good time. And it started getting dark, and my ex-wife and my son, who was a baby at the time, and my mother-in-law, they were going to go to bed. So we decided to walk. Me and my father-in-law decided to kind of walk down to the creek there, because you had the creek and you had a little trail, and it would curve down to go onto the creek as if you were going to cross it. And we were going to walk down to that point. And as we get into the curve, we start seeing these eyes just start doing this number. And I turned to him, I said, Lamar, what the heck is that? And when I pointed, it came out. It was almost like as because we were still walking, and when it came out, we met each other, and it was like, for some reason, we startled it as it startled us, because we wasn't expecting it to come out. We were still questioning what this eye shine was. And as it stepped out, it stopped, grunted. And when I say grunt, it's like it almost like this, and turned and walked off. and it went through the brush. And at this point, it wasn't trying to be quiet. It was like a truck going through there. And we were like, did we see that? Like, yeah. Do you want to follow it? Let's just
dark.
Let's go on down to the creek and like we were going to do and see what happens. And we went on down there, but that was the only thing that happened that weekend. That was it. There was it didn't come back. As far as we know, it didn't come back. We wasn't actually looking for it because we go up there all the time, but we set up a trip to go back as a result of that.
That swaying thing. A lot of people talk about the swaying thing, back and forth.
Yeah.
Daniel Benoit talks about that. No, it wasn't Daniel. He talked about the eye shine in the dark. But the guy I talked to last week, the anthropologist, said the both ones he saw were doing that.
Swaying, just like they're just. I don't understand. I don't know if that's just a animalistic thing, because birds do that mess too. They'll start doing their head like that. Certain birds do. So I don't know what that is. You know what it reminds
me of?
What's that?
I was in a marching band, and we would do that when we were in one spot the whole time to keep us from getting passing out for our legs locking.
Huh?
You kind of shift weight. I don't think that's a Bigfoot what they're doing to surely they could walk if they wanted to, but like when you were like at attention for a long time, you kind of got to do this a little bit and try to get the circulation going and back and forth.
Right.
And I know when I used to deer hunt a lot, I found out a way to always see deer. I would walk in, find a nice tree that was my width, that I could lean against, kind of take cover against. I would scrape the leaves out from under it, and I would stand up, hunt, and kind of lean against a tree. And eventually, every once in a while, I'd sway back and forth. And anytime anybody says it, I think of those two situations about how when you're in one spot for a long time, you kind of got to pump it, gotta do this.
Yeah, because a lot of their swaying, like I've noticed, a lot of their swaying is revolved around trees. Like if they're close to a tree, they'll sway like that. Mm-hmm. But if they're kind of like out in the open, they don't necessarily do that.
No,
it's more or less when they're around some kind of cover or tree is when they do that. Now the eye shine, that right there that's what tells me we're dealing with a living animal because of that eye shine. Humans don't have eye shine. Nope. Dogs, animals have eye shine. In anything else, heck, even insects have eye shine, spiders and stuff. That's what tells me we're dealing with a living, breathing primate.
Now, is the eye shine? Does it happen like a deer? Like when you shine, obviously when you shine light in their face, you get the light. But does it do it? Does it do it like without light shining in their face? Because I've heard that too. Like they just see glowing eyes without light.
Now,
I can never get an answer on that.
Okay, so every instance that I've seen, there's always been some kind of light. Okay, if it's and it kind of reflects the color of the light. Like I've seen what would appear to be red eye shine, but there's a fire there. They're looking towards a fire. I've seen the bright like the bright blue eye shine, but that's directly in the light of a flashlight. I've seen yellow eye shine. Yellow eye shine, and you get that from a distance. Like if if you're shining your light and they're a good 25 yards up a ways, you'll see like it'll look yellowish. But like without no light, I can't say I've seen none without no light.
Yeah, I've heard people compare it to like the driveway reflectors, like that big around being in the woods.
Yeah.
Like thought somebody had one of those trail markers in the woods, and it wasn't. It moves.
Yeah,
like trail marker.
And there's no light reflecting on it. See, there's certain things that it's done. Personally, I haven't encountered. Everything that I've seen them do was a result of something with a light, the campfire, looking at the campfire. Now, what I have not witnessed either, not in any instance, have I ever smelled one.
Really?
I've never smelled one, because that's all something I've always wanted. I was like, man, people are saying they smell it. I've never smelled none. Even where we go, I've not smelled it. Now, I have a theory on that, and that is the smell is a result of, one, the timing of when you see it. Like, is it in the summertime? Swampy areas around water, damp areas, where if it's like moist or damp, you have that wet dog type smell.
Yep.
And if that lingers on for a while, it can become putrid, but like a dry climate, around wintertime, I wouldn't assume there'd be any kind of smell.
It wouldn't be a whole lot for it. Wouldn't be a whole lot to cause it either.
Right. So
I asked somebody one
looked
time.
At those things.
I asked someone. I was like, "Do they smell like a squirrel smells?" I don't know if you ever had a squirrel tail or anything. Like, it smells a certain way. It smells like woodsy mixed with like a touch of dog, but it doesn't stink. Like, you hold it over here, you can't smell it. Like, I wonder if that's how Bigfoot smells, like, naturally. But like, if it's in the swamp and stinking, running around, obviously it's going to have more bacteria growth and whatever to cause a smell.
Right. And something that I've concluded, I've concluded in my research. Now, I believe, like, now a lot of stuff has grown, a lot of stuff has come out, but I've pretty much divided them up into 4 different species based on location here in the United States. You have out there in the Pacific Northwest, they grow bigger. They're, I don't want to say aggressive, but they're not necessarily afraid, and the climate out there is wet. So you would have a natural stronger stench than, say, one here, in Georgia. And the ones on this side don't get as big. They get, their average height is around 7 to 8. We're out there in California, you're looking at 10 to 13 feet tall. Then you have a species down in Louisiana around Boggy Creek creature who had 3 toes, and it was kind of lanky. I think its average height was no more than 6 to 7 feet.
There's a
and then you have they're not big. Like in Florida, they're even smaller. In Florida, the Florida skunk ape, I'm bigger than him.
Yeah, and that humidity and dampness checks out with the skunk ape.
Oh yeah.
Smell. No way you're smelling good living in Florida all the time.
And
I can't imagine.
And now you have and this started you have the dog man, and I've always understood, like, they're talking about the Sasquatch with a snout, and I wonder if they get the dog man, if the dog man is a Bigfoot they're describing. Because when I think of a Sasquatch with a snout, I think of more like a baboon. A baboon has a snout. It's not a protruding like a dog, but it has a snout. And I've always wondered, because I've never seen a snouted Sasquatch. So I've kind of wondered if the dog man and the snouted Sasquatch are one and the same, or if the dog man is like a dog or like a werewolf type thing.
Yeah, or the goat way, looks like a baboon with the snout.
Yeah,
that's like the in between.
Okay,
I think the telltale sign there is the feet, because a goat way looks like the Bigfoot in the feet, and the dog man has like the crazy grasshopper turned backwards.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. And that's something that I have. that's something that I don't know if I would want to research that thing. A dog, man, that's going to get shot if it comes out and I see something like that. That's that's
That
that's
seems
intense.
really violent.
Yeah,
Always seems violent.
and there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that seems to be coming out here lately. Because, like I said, when I started doing it, there wasn't any dog man. It was just Sasquatch. Yeah, Sasquatch, Loch Ness monster, aliens, and what's the other thing? Ghost. That's it.
Yeah.
Those four things was it. Now you got now almost everything is blurred. Everything is like coming together. You got Bigfoot, Dogman, werewolves, ghost, UFOs, and all of those are intertwined. You know, you really don't hear nothing too much about the Loch Ness monster or anything like that anymore. It's all like Sasquatch, ghost, and aliens, and all of them are kind of the lines are getting blurred, as in this between the distinctions between all three of them. Like Sasquatch come from aliens, you know, ghosts could have something to do with time manipulations. Just a lot of various theories are out there right now.
There's a lot of people coming forward too. That's the thing that's happened recently too.
Yeah,
it's like it's a lot. You don't get that whole crazy old man in the village
right.
stigma attached to you anymore if you come out with it. Now it's just, oh, you got a story? Come on, people like me out there exposing all these little nooks and crannies and people that see like one thing like you saw and they don't want to talk about it, but they will talk about it on here.
Right. There's a freedom, like so back then when I started doing it, there wasn't you were stigmatized if you spoke about something
crazy
like
old
that.
Man in the village.
Yep. And like for me, like I said, we had our discussions, but they were always late at night while I was at work on a third shift. You know, during the day it wasn't talked about, it wasn't discussed or anything like that, but it was late. It was always a late night discussion that we had. And now those late night discussions that we had back then are commonplace and talked about more and more in detail now more than ever.
You talk about it in a professional environment now. Like I work in government IT, and I'm in business cash all day, and people will come in and they'll see my little sticker on it. Like, oh, what is that? And somebody will mention I got a podcast, and they'll start talking about it. Oh yeah, my grandma's house is haunted. You see all kinds of stuff in it. They would walk by the door while we were going to the bathroom or something. Like 20 years ago, you wouldn't have said that.
Nope. It's amazing how far we've come with the research, with people coming forward, and the quality of the witnesses. You know, the quality of the witnesses. You know, that's what's bringing it to the forefront. And somebody asked me, you know, and I get this asked quite a bit. Well, how come it's not made to the public yet? How come it's not out there? How come nobody's got a picture? How come there's no evidence? I tell them, look, I said, a picture does absolutely no good except to the person that took the picture. I said, because there have been so many fakes that has come into the Bigfoot field that's almost discredited the legitimacy of the field and the evidence that we do have. I said, I believe that the government does have a, what do you call it? A section of
like
the
a
United
division
States.
Department.
Yeah, that's dedicated to researching Sasquatch. And I said, not only that, I said, I do believe that when you go into these national forests and you can't do this and you can't do that, or you're not allowed in, I said, these are havens for these creatures to live and to thrive. I said, when they decide for it to come public, they will have everything they need to know about the creature and be able to explain to you what it is before they publicize it or make it known.
Or when they randomly close off a part of a giant area.
Right.
And it's for like a reason that's not a control burn. You're like,
right.
why are you doing that? closed for a certain part of the year, or Yellowstone has the places you can't go for 6-8 months. And
oh yeah, yeah. They're holding on. They're doing. I don't say they're doing stuff. I believe they're really researching these creatures.
I often wonder if they don't have any kind of not so much captured but like have them working, I guess, working with them. I don't know. I don't know if capturing one would be how you would do it. I don't know how you would keep one contained.
Well, they was like, for example, they know enough about them that, okay, so if they naturally roam this area of the forest, we'll make that national forest land where nobody can come in. You see what I'm saying? It's not like they're capturing them.
It's not like it's in a zoo.
Right. Because they if they can find a person from a satellite, they can find these things and know where they are.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not publicized. It's just not.
I've heard the tales about one of the big forts where they did training exercises at night, and they would always run into them.
Yeah.
And they had to cancel them a few times.
Can you imagine that?
We're having how they describe it to the soldiers.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure they let them know before they even get to that point. Look, because I was watching what is it called? Expedition Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm. With Miranda, whatever her name is.
Yeah. And the Marianne?
Yeah, it's like Marianne, or it's like a variation of Marianne, something like that.
Yeah.
Short-haired girl. Yeah.
Yep. So the guy Bryce, the team leader, they showed him he was getting gas or something, and a military vet walked up to him and asked him, like, "Are you the guy from the Expedition Bigfoot show?" And he said he is. And he proceeded to tell him, he said, that he was a part of a particular military unit doing training in the area that they were investigating. And he said his sergeant or his commanding officer told him there are Bigfoot. He said, I don't know what your belief is about Bigfoot, but they're in the area. And when you're training, do not engage them.
That's the same story I just came up with. That's where I heard it. Same dude.
Yep.
I just remembered it. I'm like, I don't know where I heard it, but
that is insane. And that tells you right there. Yeah, they are aware, they know, and it's nothing to them. So they've known it long enough to where they can have a casual conversation with their men about it.
Imagine that hike out there in the land nav practice. There's Bigfoot out there.
Oh man.
Sometimes I get to thinking, like, not transcendentally, but like deep thought about how the stories I've heard actually would transcribe to apply into real world research. I'm like, how would you actually do it?
Right.
Well, because it's intention. They say intention based. Don't have a rifle. Don't be weird. Like, how would you go about engaging? Like, what do you do when you go to a new place and you start engaging them? You cook the bacon and start talking. That's what a lot of people say they do. They cook bacon and start talking loud.
Yeah, because that bacon smells. This smells good. Can you edit this?
Yeah, I can.
I got to use the restroom.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were about to tell me something cool. Yeah, go. It doesn't matter. I'll edit. I edit it anyway.
Okay.
I took advantage of the opportunity myself. So you can tell when a podcast gets to the restroom break phase that, like, it's getting good. Because that's what everybody's relaxed after that. Just like, yeah.
Yep.
I can't believe this already went for 50 minutes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love discussing this stuff.
It's so much fun. I got a guy in Minnesota who I'm real good friends with. He was on the new She Squatchers and Jason Humber documentary. Searching for Sasquatch 10 in Minnesota. His name's Randy. He's like my first real witness I talked to. And like, really, it was like a paradigm shift by proxy for me. Like, it was like me seeing the foot.
Right.
Just, and he said, I was like, how do they look in the face? And he said, hold on a second. I'll show you. And he got up like you did. And, and I'm like, and I said, what if he has a head? and, and he heard me. He goes, I don't have a head, but he had a statue. He had a statue, and and his wife said she saw one crouched down in his driveway coming home, just off to the side of the car, and said, "Look like that statue you get."
Wow.
And you're in the South, so you know the places that sell the random statues for your garden.
Yep.
It was that Bigfoot statue that she said it looked like.
Wow.
The weird face.
Now, a buddy, like I said, the team members, not the team, but the team founders of Georgia Bigfoot Research and Investigation, they've since passed away. But they had heads. They had 2 heads made, and I wish I knew who they gave them to or what happened to them. But they had 2 heads made, and they made them out of old mannequin heads, and they looked. They would have passed as a good, it'd be a good illustration, like if you're teaching about Bigfoot and their facial features and stuff, that would have been a good, they would have been good props to illustrate that, what they look like in the face. Because the interesting
Sasquatch
thing,
Ontario has them.
Oh, really?
I'm just joking. He had those masks.
Because Here's the thing. This is something that I think is unique to those creatures, is they don't look the same in the face. Every creature has different facial features, similar but different. And it's just like humans. We all are human, but we have different facial features. Same bone structure, but different features of the face. And when everybody has a Sasquatch sighting, some of them will describe a smashed nose, real pronounced lips, thick brow line, and on the other hand, some will describe like higher cheekbones. The lips are not so pronounced. Their brow line isn't as pronounced. Some are narrow faces, some are fat faces. Some are sunk in faces. It's just a variety of what these creatures look like.
Yeah, there could be subspecies too, and mixed in with them. You never know.
Yeah.
I've heard that some look like silverbacks in the face, and some look like me and you.
Yeah.
There's that one group going around, and it's got to be a hoax, because there's no way you get in that clear picture. But it looks like a guy in a 3-in-1 parka, and he's got the giant hood. It looks like he's wearing a giant black hood with his face painted completely like pronounced black. But the thing is throwing around whole trees, and it's on a pic camera. I'm like, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know who made it, but it looks like a dude wearing a 3-in-1 parka with a little face in there.
I've gotten so many videos, people sending me videos on that, and they're like, "Is this real? Is this real?" And I'm like, I don't know.
You know the dude I'm talking about, then?
Yeah, where it's like a crime scene. Yeah, from what I heard, it's a crime scene. Yeah, and this thing, the thing is the trees. He's picking up these trees, and I'm trying to figure out how would you fake that? If he's picking up
the only thing I can come up with is there's some kind of something in the background that helping him lift it right when he does it. I don't know. But those are big trees.
And it does look like a dude in like a black ghillie suit, just a jet black ghillie suit.
And his face, it just looks like Phil Robertson with a black face paint on.
But what I tell him is, I don't know. I tell him, could it be? Yes. My question is, I always ask, why would you fake that? I always ask, why would somebody go through the trouble of faking that? Because that's not easy to do. You got to put on this whole thing. You got to set your camera up just right. You got to, fiddle with these trees. You ain't getting paid for it, you know. So
No,
like, so
it's a first
why?
crime.
Yeah, well, so it's like, why would you, why would anybody do that? Personally, I think it's real. I'm not 100%. I'm gonna say I'm about 80% sure that this is a real footage. 20% that it's made up.
Stature. He
Here we
effortlessly
go.
lifts a sizable tree trunk. This
Yeah.
impressive feat involves
It's just,
elevating the 12-inch
I don't know if I can do
diameter,
this or not. Who cares?
25-foot-long
But
log,
it's like
a jaw-dropping
the
30
fact that he
feet into
throws
the
this
air,
tree.
followed
I
by
know
a
that's a cedar
resounding
tree.
slam. The
That's
displayed
4
strength and
fence
power
posts he's
exceeds
throwing.
human strength, with the estimated weight of the massive
And
log
even if it's rotten, it's
hitting
still
an
heavy. Wood's
impressive
still heavy if it's rotten.
530
That's what some
pounds.
people
Yeah.
say.
Could this trail camera have captured a genuine Bigfoot in
I'm
action?
just not sure.
Check it out.
Because I've seen this same one in another shot, completely different shot.
Really?
Same dude. Yeah, like it's not the first time I've seen this particular person thing. But that's a big. Like, there's nothing holding up when he does that. That's incredible.
So yeah. So I mean,
I wonder if I'm allowed to show this.
well, I mean, it's been shown.
I mean, well, we're
thousands
commenting
of
on it.
times,
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's not like we're
And it's on,
making this.
and it's on TikTok. So
yeah, that's correct. But look at him throw that. If I can find a good shot at him.
5-foot-long log, a jaw-dropping 30
as far as the
feet
way
into
he
the
looks,
air, followed
that face.
by a resounding.
It's the first time I've ever seen that particular. I'll get out of here. Tell me.
Captures an imposing figure,
Can't pirate it if
reminiscent
you
of
try to tell me to log
Bigfoot
in.
stature. He effortlessly lifts
just
a
doesn't have the
sizable
cone.
tree
It doesn't
trunk.
have the
This impressive
cone
feat involves elevating
head
the
you're used to. It's
12-inch
just like a dude in a
diameter,
hood.
25-foot-long log, a jaw-dropping 30 feet into
Anyway.
the air, followed by a resounding slam.
see, and
The displayed
another
strength
thing
and
about
power
that is
exceeds human
it
strength,
doesn't
with the
zoom in
estimated
on the
weight of the
face.
massive log
Like if
hitting an
the
impressive
actual camera, if we
530
had the
pounds.
actual footage
Could this
from
trail
that camera
camera have
to
captured
zoom
a
in on the
genuine
face,
Bigfoot in action?
we would be able to
Check
see
it out.
if that's actually its face that we're seeing and not like the side of his head or any other obstruction that may be there, giving it the appearance of a hood.
Mm-hmm. There's another one that's like a full face of it. That same one, which makes me think it may be just the same hoaxer or whatever. But
yeah,
that's the best, clearest picture I've ever seen of something allegedly supposed to be that, other than that weird one in Colorado.
I know one of my favorite footages, so to speak, from a while back was called the Snow Walker
slam.
footage.
The display.
But since then I've heard that was hoaxed. And again, I just like, why would somebody do that? Have you ever heard of the Snow Walker footage?
Is that the guy on the ridge?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just walking uphill through snow. That was filmed by some skiers.
I think so. Let me look it up. Snow Walker footage.
Yep.
I think the Bigfoot wiki. Huh. Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
That next to the Patterson footage, I think to me that gives you, you kind of see everything with that. The muscle, the what it's doing is humanly impossible. It
does look a lot like Patty. There is muscle. Well, yeah, I don't know. That's a good shot.
Yeah, and it was taken by some skiers, and that was before you had the 4K cameras and stuff like that.
Definitely before 4K.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's a cast. He's got a cast of it. Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize there was so much, like you were saying, the pictures that only benefit others out there, only benefit the person who took them, until I talked to the people at the camp out we were on. I didn't know that level of seriousness existed. I didn't really know what I was getting into. And I was like, man, this is more than I thought. This is more than just people talking about it. There's actual evidence, and the stuff I was showing, I was like, why isn't this out there? And the reason I was given is what you just said. It doesn't benefit anyone because of all the hoaxers. Like they're just going to say it's fake.
Yep. It's sad and it's frustrating, and that's one reason why you got, like, right now you got Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum that's kind of stepped in the place of Grover Krantz, who has given us, that anthropology, that high level scientific backing that's needed in the Bigfoot community. When they can take a track and look at it and go through the anatomy of this track and give you, what the muscles are doing, what they call the dermal ridges in it, how this portion of the foot is developed so it can support this amount of weight. We need that scientific evidence in the community, because that's what undergirds our research. Without that scientific aspect, that anthropology aspect, we're building a deck of cards, a house of cards, because everything is hearsay and theory, and there's nothing concrete to support it. With this scientific evidence, this anthropology that Dr. Jeff Meldrum and Grover Krantz is laying, that's giving us something to build upon.
That's exactly how I felt about having the. I say it affectionately. I call them whack jobs. They're not. They're just people with stories. They have encounters. That's all they have. That's all any of us mostly have. But I wanted to get somebody with actual boots on the ground and other sciences, because I'm trying to build up like credible commonalities amongst it, even if it's not directly, even if it doesn't directly apply to it. Like maybe I hear somebody say something about how a wasp builds a nest. I'm like, wait a minute, that could be very comparable.
Right.
You never know. I just think I think it's up to us to legitimately try to find some commonality and legitimacy to it, without just going out and just talking to somebody that lives on a farm with 10 of them.
Right.
You don't have so many of them. Even though I love those kind of guests, but I can only have so many of them. For I'm just like, I got to have something else. I got to talk to somebody.
You got to have some stuff, but there's got to be some substance. There's got to be some substance,
or just something to compare it to bounce it off of. You got to like on Indiana Jones. He finds those artifacts and he goes, I guess I could walk it through Swahili first, or whatever he says. Or, the hieroglyphics. I could walk it through Swahili or whatever he says. Like, you got to have something to compare it to. Otherwise, you're just out here with just a fairy tale.
Right. Exactly. There's got to be something tangible to like you said, to be able to bounce it off of.
And I think the answer's out there. I think the probably somebody already knows. You got the guy from the Expedition Bigfoot, and the Army guy said he saw him and he had him out there, but I don't know why we can't know any further than we do. I think
we're closer. I think we do know. I think let me figure out how to put this. I believe we know more than what we think we know, and I believe we're closer to the truth than what we think we are. Because there's been a lot of evidence compiled. The only thing we don't have is a physical body or piece of a body. We have discovered that they move from place to place. We've discovered that there's multiple species of them. We've discovered that they travel in family groups. We discovered that they're very secretive, but very observant. We discovered some of their eating habits. What else? Weight, height, their adaptability to their environment. So we've discovered
anywhere. That's crazy. That's the crazy
anywhere. Part. And we've discovered quite a bit information about them. We know that they're not tool makers. we know that they don't know fire, but their intelligence level, with their intelligence level, they can be taught how. We know that they have a language and they can communicate through a language versus just grunting and carrying on. We know that they use trees or tree structures to identify, point in a direction, territory, pretty much the same things a primate will do with tree structures. So there's things we know, there's things that, a lot of stuff is, I think we kind of cancel out what we do know by applying theories to what we don't, and speculation and calling it fact. I believe we in the Bigfoot community, we stumble into that trap of, my theory is fact, your theory is just a theory type stuff.
Yep. The egos, man.
And we can't do that, because if we don't have a solid fact, then it's just a theory. That's just how it is, and we need to be willing to discuss each other's theory and be able to argue, but not in the point of debating, but just having that discussion on, okay, so what's your theory, and you explain your theory. Okay, so here's my theory. So what, like you said, what are the commonalities in this theory that we can go forth with,
I call it the serious side of anecdotal.
Yeah.
That's what I call it, the serious side of anecdotal. So can we just research it on that? like is there a murder board, like a basement wall, we can put all this stuff down and like okay, it might do this when a crow flies by,
right?
Anything. 62 degrees outside, they do this.
Right.
To be a commonality.
So I mean, we're as far as the Bigfoot community goes, there's a lot of information that we do have. And I believe this: if we come together as a community and just lay our cards on the table, this is what we found, this is what we got, because there's a lot of it's almost like a competition.
Yes, it's awful.
I'm
not even in the Bigfoot community. I'm just a podcaster. They hate me. They get on my ass all the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of competition, and I think that competition is a deterrent to the reality of searching this creature, because we may be studying what's called a mythical creature by those who are not in the community, but we're studying a live animal that's walking the United States and other parts of the world, and if we come together and say, okay, look, let's share information. Let's discuss things that we can do to possibly capture one, pull our resources together to capture one, or to enhance our research in a particular area and build from that. I think we would actually prove its existence without anything outside of the community.
Yeah, why hasn't there been a Brandon Fugel, whatever his name was, from Skinwalker Ranch about this? Like a multi-millionaire to put like $10 million to the research.
Yeah. And here's
Elon Musk doing.
Right. There's been, like I said, there's been a lot of people that have spent their livelihoods researching this creature and have gone broke. I don't have an answer for that. I'm sure there's one out there, and he's possibly waiting or just don't know. But I'm sure there's one out there that's probably, as we speak, is building a team to do just that. I mean, we got Expedition Bigfoot, and they've come up with some really good evidence on that show. So, and then that's funded by, I'm assuming, the networks.
Yeah, but they can only find certain types of stuff.
Well, here's the thing:
they can only talk about it.
Exactly, they can only air certain things. I'm pretty sure they've found more than what they've aired.
Like the Blue Forum of the BFRO.
Yeah,
they don't put on the website. I found out about
Yep.
that from Carter Brush Art, and I was like, "What? That's the good stuff. That's the juicy
Yep.
stuff. Why isn't that out there?"
There's a lot of stuff that they just if it's getting funded by anything connected to media or government, it's limited as to what they will allow the public to air.
Yeah. See, because I'm on board with there being maybe something wooey out there that might be happening because we don't know. I mean,
Right.
like you said, everything's on the table, and there's definitely been some incidents with
Mhm.
the mind mess up and the electronics and the time, but no one ever looks into it. They only look into the gorilla thing, and that's only like a
Right.
piece of it. I mean, they could be. I don't know. I'm trying not to be wooey because I don't want to. I'm trying to get away from it because I really enjoy it, and it's like a eating all the Halloween candy.
Right. Right.
Because I get to get on that train ride. I can go all the way down because I love it. It's just a cinematic universe to me. But I don't want to be the all in on it. But maybe like a little piece of it's real, possibly. I mean, who's to say it's not? That they can clip in and out. Maybe some kind of vibration makes them invisible, like
Yeah.
a octopus does.
Yeah.
Just throwing stuff out there. Like I've heard that maybe the tree knocks are echolocation. That's one of my favorite ones.
and that's a new one on me. I haven't heard that one. That's interesting.
I've had a couple of people. D.A. Roberts, his bunch was talking about how instead of it being a tree knock, it's like a bat.
Right. Because now, if you think about it and you listen to them, they sound more like that, like you just did, than an actual taking wood and busting it against a tree. Because you can now they do use tree knocks, and you can tell when a piece of wood is smacking another piece of wood. But then you have that crisp, clear knock that you just did. So
sounds like a minor league baseball game going on.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. I haven't heard any. I've never. You've been. Every minute by minute of all the Bigfoot research I've ever done because you were there for all of it. But I've never heard any of it in the wild. So I'm just interested in if I get out there, being that I grew up in the woods, if I hear a new sound I never heard before, I'm waiting on that. Like, holy crap, I've never heard that all of my years. That's what I can't wait for.
The thing is, just really getting out there, keeping an open mind.
Oh, yeah. Good intentions.
But also with keeping an open mind, you want to keep a skeptical mind.
100%.
You want to say, okay, what else could this be other than what I'm wanting it to be? And when you run out of all the options of what it could be, then it's like, okay, this really happened, and you chalk it up as this is an experience. All right. So the I want to say the instinctful thing to do is to tell somebody this is what happened. Da, 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 da. However, if you're seeking to, let's say, solidify your belief in it, don't tell nobody yet, but go back to that location again, at a later time, and kind of just sit and listen, see what happens, because that's a lot of times how research is. I've had encounters, but I've been at we've been going to that place for, 20 something years. So I've had about three or four personal encounters, 2 sightings, but things happening in my immediate, surroundings about 3 or 4 times. A lot of times just went up there and it was just a camping trip. More often than not, when I went up there, it's just a camping trip, But then when stuff did happen, it happened.
I know when my electronics started messing up randomly, I was freaking out a little bit. I was like, what is this crap? Why this stuff never breaks? I've had it for years. All of a sudden here, nothing's working right. I kind of just giggled to myself and just kept going.
Yeah. That's what you do. I get mad. Like, look, turn it back on. Whoever you did, turn it back. Leave my stuff alone. I ain't messing with you yet.
I was trying to watch like I think it was Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives on my phone on Netflix just to go to sleep, and everything stopped working. I'm like, what the? Like, I tell you about what happened that night. You know, I had the air mattress incident. I call it air mattress incident of 23, and I woke up and I had my toboggan on my head, and I had longer hair than I do now, but I still had the whiskers, and I would breathe. And as I breathed, my toboggan would move on my hair. But my ears were hearing a footstep every time I breathed because it was.
Oh my goodness!
It was 3:33 in the damn morning when it happened, and so I start coming to terms with it. I said, "Okay, they don't kill folks usually. I don't think so." I said, "This is about to happen." This is about to happen. I'm like, I'd hear just at the rate of a breath. And it turns out it was, I did this and I heard it like real. I said, "Oh, it's my toboggan," and I got really relieved, but disappointed at the same time. I was like, "Hey." But the kicker, right before I moved my head and heard it and figured out what it really was, Lee Manette, Glenn's cousin, snored really loud.
Oh man,
dude! I had about a 35-second heart attack. I was like, "This is happening." I said, "This is freaking happening." I heard.
Oh man. Oh man.
That's when I went and got in the truck. I've since spent $1,000 on camping equipment. I'm ready to go now.
Oh man. I gotta get some more. I got this 8-man tent, and it's a beast trying to put that thing up. And it's like, man, I need to get something more smaller, something.
I got me a gazelle that just pops up.
Oh yeah, see, I need something like that. Yeah,
wasn't that expensive? $300. I mean, it's expensive.
Yeah, that ain't bad. Well, that ain't too bad because it gets up there.
I was unaware. I really want an RV, but that's coming.
Yeah, that's camp. That's for at my age now. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Just like I'm starting to lean that way.
Yeah, and my wife wants one too, and so that's the main political lobby.
Yeah, there you go
for the kids.
Yeah,
I think I really want to get something that I could just like a Class C where I could drive it,
right?
Like and not have to pull it and back it.
But you couldn't get up a mountain with that thing.
No, you can just drive around like Cousin Eddie. You were mentioning we'll wrap up here in a second because I'm getting hungry anyway. But you're mentioning Jeff Meldrum, and I was I was so naive when I first started. I'm not much better now, but I didn't know any of the names, anybody names. I just came in, just asking anybody in the world to come on the show.
Right.
And I think I reached out to Jeff Meldrum like he was somebody's friend. Like, hey, I noticed you were into Bigfoot. Would you like to come?
What did he say?
Nothing. I don't think he ever responded. But Joe Rogan did a documentary on Bigfoot like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I just took down every name that was in that documentary and reached out to him. And Jeff Meldrum happened to be one of them. And I didn't know then who I was reaching out to.
Right. Yeah, he's a big deal.
I've got some people like close to his level that's been on. And I didn't really know who they were.
I'd reach out to him again.
Mm-hmm. Now that I know.
Yeah, he seems to be a really nice guy.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard of Daniel Lee from the UK? 14 years old and doing research out there in this one ridge that's a mile long in the UK. And he's finding like what's it called? eDNA.
Huh.
And he got some eDNA off a track that turned out to be an unknown ape.
And see, how many times have you heard that? Yeah. Unknown primate.
Unknown human, unknown primate.
Okay. You know why that, all right. So that tells you right there is a being that is unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a primate. Do you know why it's unknown? Why it comes up? Why this DNA comes up like that?
Mm-mm.
There's nothing that is documented or substantiated to compare it to, or to like say this is that.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the DNA system that is okay. This DNA is that, because your DNA tells you what you are or what kind of thing you are. So it tells you, like, it'll say that it's a primate, but what kind of primate is it? There is no registration for the kind of primate that it is. See, that's telling you right there that you got something.
I was shocked when he told me that. He is 14 years old. His they call him Nans over there, which I think means grandma. And that's who goes out researching with him. And he is putting on the first annual UK Bigfoot conference, and he got Jeffrey Meldrum to go.
Wow.
He did my show one morning. He goes, I got to go, mate. I got Dr. Meldrum coming on here in a few minutes. I'm like, man, Jeffrey Meldrum's following me. All right. It's crazy. I'm just like 1 degree from Meldrum.
Yeah.
Which people who fumble this thing worse than I do have had Ron Moorhead on, so it's not too hard out of the picture.
Right. Now, I'm going to tell you that Ron Moorhead Sierra Sounds is absolutely incredible to me.
Mm-hmm.
That is some of my favorite evidence ever. Whenever I'll be talking to somebody, I say, you want to know what one sounds like? Listen to this. And it completely blows their mind.
The guy from Minnesota said he hears them talking out there like that all the time. He did like an impression of it. Something sounds like Tasmanian devil. He said it sounded like the Tasmanian devil's outside.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
And they're using, I can't remember the doctor, but there was a research, a linguist that this information was sent to, and he was talking about they are communicating in a language. There's actually syllables that's being spoken by these things.
Yeah. I've reached out to him too, because he was on the Rogan documentary.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Rogan went to that guy's office. It's not Les Odell, is it? Nah, I'll look it up. I can send you it's on YouTube. It's all free now. I don't know if it's supposed to be, but it's a 6-part series. 6. But it's got aliens, Bigfoot, robot take over the world,
AI.
We control the weather. It's got some remote viewings on there. The guys that men that stare at goats, and I actually got the guy from remote viewing on my show too, because I happen to be friends with his great nephew by marriage.
Yeah,
and he was one of the men that stare at goats.
Stare at goats.
You remember the men that stare at goats? The remote viewing thing. Yeah, he was one of those guys. It was a George Clooney movie, and it was about the secret program, the men that stare at goats. And he was one of the.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's
wow.
Wild. Do you know the guy that was on the trip with us? And you know who it is. I'm not going to mention names, but he has the kick-ass Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
He was one of them too.
Wow.
Like I think they knew each other, but I didn't ask because I'm not going to go drop names around people I just met.
Right.
But I think they do. The guy I talked to, his name was Paul Smith, though, and he's got a remote viewing college in Utah or Idaho.
A college?
It's got like a little course you can go out there for 3 months.
Oh well,
dude, that stuff's real. When he starts describing what they see, and were you in the military?
Well,
I don't know if you know how encryption works, but they do a thing remote viewing when they send you on a target. Like if you're trying to get this group of remote viewers to get a target, in your mind, you associate that target with like a set of numbers. Like he'd said his example was 8675309. He goes 8675309 means red car across the country with a certain object, and he would tell the remote viewers about this number. And it would somehow, it's the craziest thing, but they would somehow like figure out via their mind, via the person that assigned them that number, what it was in some crazy cosmic way. Like it was.
Wow.
Dude, it blew my, I did a whole episode with him. I thought he was going to dead fish me because he was so smart. Like sometimes the people that are really smart are bad podcast guests. He was not. I had
That
to
is
stop
awesome.
him. I had to stop him. I'm like, dang. But but what you're talking about with the syllables and the Sierra sounds, how he was looking through them, how they had words.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
And then what ruins that for me, the Meldrum thing, is how he's talking back to him. I'm like
that's what gets me going, because when he it's like he's mocking them.
Yeah, he's saying the same thing back, and they say it.
It seems like that it seems like that one gets mad because he goes like, it's like, oh snap.
Well,
that shows emotion.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying ruin it's for me, but like I've heard skeptics talk about how it sounds like they're right next to the microphone. I'm like, well, if you knew anything about what you're listening to, you would know that half of it is right next to the microphone.
Yeah.
And the other half's across the mountain there.
Plus another thing to think about too is you can actually, if you put it on with headphones, you can hear the distance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, you can hear where one's closer and one's further away, and you can almost hear like the locations of where they are in relation to where the microphone is.
Yeah, you can tell that one of them's right there because it literally is. He says it, and then the rest of them you can hear through the. It almost sounds like there's air in between them.
Yeah. Yep. That is, that's incredible.
I'll have to send you that documentary because he several different people. He talks about gifting, and he goes out there and sees all kinds of stuff, and they obviously don't see anything because it's 45 minutes of a TV show,
right?
15 years ago, but it's got Meldrum in it. It's got man, you know the names. I'm not even going to try to think of them, but I've reached out to all of them, and afterwards I look back. I'm like, my gosh, that dude's got 50 million followers, and I'm just I'm trying to.
You're going to get there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I haven't been intimidated yet by anyone. I mean, what are they going to do? And just tell me the same thing I've heard over and over? Right. I've never heard no. I've heard crickets, and I've heard yes, but I've never heard no. Some people's like, I had one guy tell me I had to buy a copy of his book, and I didn't have enough followers yet, but that was about it.
You had to buy a copy of his book.
He told me I needed to buy a copy of his book before I came on his show, and I didn't have enough followers yet.
Wow.
For him to come on my show, and I'm thinking, all right, you're now my mortal enemy, but we'll go forward. Right. I kind of just like, okay, I'm kind of going to like put a pin in it, and going forward, I'll wait for the day he has to come on my show.
Right.
And if I get big enough, he will. I mean, that's how it works. But anyway, Tony, you've been a great guest, and I think we will hang out sooner or later again in the physical dimension.
Oh, yeah. I love being here. Thank you for having me.
You have a website or anything you want to plug?
I don't have a website. I got my email address. You know, if somebody want to get in touch with me, it's TonyG389@gmail.com.
Tony G. Yeah, he takes encounters, and we'll help you out. You never know. I didn't know what kind of capacity you're in this. I didn't know if it was just hobbyist or just I know you were with the team there.
Well, it's kind of at this moment it's kind of hobbyist. Because I had got out of it for a while, and then I had got back into it, and you know, I'm still learning the newer stuff that's out there. You know, I'm kind of old school in a sense. You know, I'm not used to the technology. I'm used to the flashlight and getting out there.
Still sniffing the dirt.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Like a tornado chaser. Yeah, it's wild now. It's wild now. I've considered getting on eBay and getting me some Patterson Gimlin level recording devices, and but at the same time, I don't want to be like a researcher full blown. I want to be like the combat reporter to paranormal research.
Right.
I want to be like a Jason. I don't want all my stuff. I want to be next to people that have it. Like having somebody friend that has a boat. The best boat, somebody else's.
Right.
Like, I'll just go to camp out and eat beanie weenies and run around with them in the woods, and they do all the crazy stuff. I'm just taking.
Honestly, that's pretty much, man, the way, all right, so you got people who are retired military that's able to get out there and spend, weeks to 2 weeks at a time on the next investigation.
And cops too.
And yeah. I've always wanted to be able to do that, but unfortunately I can't at this stage in my life. I'm not saying that when the time comes that I wouldn't do that, because I sure would be gone for months, because that's where you're going to get the greatest amount of evidence, the longevity of you staying out there. The
Just
more, like, if
in.
you're out, if you're out there for a month in the same location where these creatures are known to be, you're going to have an encounter. You're going to have an up close encounter. It's going to be more than one time, because they're going to get used to seeing you. They're going to be familiar with you. I would suggest at that level, do not feed them. Do not do nothing like that, because just like any other wild animal, you start feeding it, it's going to get aggressive if you mess around and forget a day.
Turn into grizzly man real quick.
Oh yeah.
That's what old Zeus Pratt from Colorado told me. He goes, "Don't feed them, because everybody wants to give them peanut butter. Why the hell would you give a 3,000-pound gorilla peanut butter every day?" Oh man. All right, man. It's been a great talk. Thanks for coming on again, and I'll let you know when this airs, so we can drop it and show all our friends. I'll put it in the big email chain as well.
All right. I appreciate you having me. It's been a pleasure being here.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it. I knew we'd have a good talk. Did not disappoint.
I was excited. I was excited too, man.
Anytime there's a bathroom break in a podcast, you know it's about to get real. That means it's done went long. I've never had a bad post bathroom break conversation. They should just be only podcasts where people sit and just jabberjaw for an hour and a half, and I got to go to the bathroom, come back, and it's just like, okay, real talk. All right, man. I'll see our way out. We're gonna play our exit music, and good night and God bless.
God bless you too, bro.
I never didn't believe in Bigfoot. I never believed in it. I didn't believe in it. I never gave it any thought.
They kept wood knocking back and forth to each other, and it was in a pattern.
Barn owls don't typically throw rocks.
I come across these tracks.
Sasquatch is still not on my mind.